Welcome back to Macatthemovies. Today we are going to be reviewing for you the film Sunset Boulevard. This was originally released August 10th, 1950 by Paramount Pictures and directed by Billy Wilder, who had also directed The Apartment, Sabrina, and Some Like It Hot. We have the DVD.
Right there. So it stars William Holden as Joe Gillis, Gloria Swanson as Norman Desmond, Eric von Stroheim as Max von Jaerling, and Nancy Olson as Betty Schaefer.
This is definitely a fun sort of murder mystery thriller movie in a sense. It starts out with a dead man in a pool, and cops come up to find the body of this man in actress's Norma Desmond's pool.
Yeah, I think this may have been common for its time, but in today's world, starting at the very end of the movie, it's like a cool twist that younger people do not expect, at all.
No, so, I mean, I know that there are some movies that pull that off, but, of its time, and it really it draws you in pretty quick, a dead person at the beginning of the film, especially in the 50s, I'm sure. That was a little something to grab you there. But one thing we had noticed that at the very beginning of the movie when the police show up, they just drive right into the bushes.
They ride their little cop motorcycle right into this mansion's bushes and just, we're going to park in the flower bed today.
Dead bodies there. I don't think they're concerned about the shrubbery. But at this point, we start to flash back at how we got here. And it goes back to the apartment of screenwriter Joe Gillis.
Yeah, so Joe is, he's typing out he's banging out scripts. He's like, I've had a few B movies under my name, but, and I'm quickly trying to get out 2 stories a week. None of them are taking hold. And then we hear a knock at the door.
We find out that Joe owes a little bit of money on a car note.
On his old Plymouth convertible.
So he owes a little bit of money. The repo men are there to get the keys and to take the car. But he doesn't have the car. A friend took it to Florida or Pensacola or something like that.
Or he parked it behind the shoe shine stand. Yeah. Who knows?
So, we all find out what happens with that car. But along the way, Joe is trying to, I wouldn't say peddle, but, market his screenplays around Hollywood. And
he just gets desperate. He starts asking his friends for money. He's like, look, I need $300. I'm just going to, we got to do this.
Yeah, and during all this, Joe ends up getting spotted by the repo men in the car that they came to get. And he runs away. During this, he gets a blowout and goes to the first driveway he sees to ditch these guys. And he ends up in the driveway of one Norma Desmond, who was a big actress in the silent film days. In this movie.
And he comes barreling into the house. Well, I'm sorry, that's a little much. He barrels into the garage and he's trying to hide the car. He goes to the front door and he's greeted by the house butler.
Well, it's not. He doesn't get he doesn't go to the front door. He comes out of the garage like he's going to walk down the driveway, and the butler's
like, "You're late. Come on, let's get in. Like, you're not dressed for this." And he's like, "Dressed for what?" And he comes upstairs, and it's this exceptionally just flamboyantly wild woman, middle-aged woman, and she's like, I set him by the fire. That's what he would have liked. And you can see Joe is just backpedaling, going, "What have I walked into?
What's going on here?"
And she pulls back the blanket, and there's a dead chimpanzee, and she thinks that he is the funeral home director that's going to build the casket for this chimpanzee.
They're having a monkey funeral.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I'm a screenwriter. I am a screenwriter. I don't have anything to do with monkeys or burials, And she dismisses him, threatens to call the police. But she's a little intrigued because it's screenplay. And she's been working on one for about 20 years.
Oh, yeah. So she basically has enough written for 6 or 7 screenplays. And she wants Joe to sort of put all this together to make one just grand screenplay.
Her comeback. No, return.
She didn't like comeback.
Return.
But this just glorious tell of her life, the life and times of Norma Desmond.
Yeah.
And he eventually comes to and realizes that he can hide from these repo men on this property.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a cash cow too. She's worth millions at that time. And in the 50s, that's a lot of money. So, and you know, he'll be able to speak more onto this because I'm not so much a car guy, but she has a car in her garage that for its time, a lot of money.
Yeah, so basically I think it doesn't really say one way or the other. Either the repo men found the car or she tipped him off to get the car towed. Because if she takes away his car, takes away his legs, his life force, he can't get around. And the car, she's like, you know, we already have another car in the garage. We don't need another one. It is and I apologize for mispronouncing, it's an Italian handmade car in the late 20s called an Isotta Fraschini. It would have cost $50,000 in 1928 money. That's a $500,000 car today.
Yeah.
$500,000 car. It had when they're driving around in it later, it's got a car phone system where she can pick up a receiver and talk to Max who's driving. Leopard skin upholstery. Real leopard skin.
It confused me at first because we sat there and they were like, and it has this golden car phone. I was like, how the heck is a car phone going to work in the 50s?
It's literally an inter-car phone.
Yeah.
It's a game of just can with the string.
Yeah.
You know?
String in a can.
Yeah, string in a can. Yeah.
So, yeah, quite interesting story, but it becomes one of those situations where Joe sort of becomes a slave to Norma's generosity. And it's not so much her generosity as she's more or less paying for his presence there.
She's paying for companionship. She develops feelings for him. He kind of figures out a little too late. He's trying to get out. He can't get out. He's got other friends in the industry he wants to work with, you know, and she's not having it.
Yeah, and it comes down to Joe wanting to branch out because even in the beginning, he was wanting to work on his own screenplay, his own writings. And, you know, he talks about having his guild card and what he's done. And he has friends in the industry, like Chase just said. And he winds up going out every night, meeting up with a friend.
Yeah, Betty Schaefer.
Yeah. It's like one of his best friend's
fiancés. Yeah, fiancé, yeah.
So it's one of those situations that they're working late overnight. The fiancé is out of town, and they sort of fall in love.
Yeah, Norma finds out, and she does that creepy just call at 10 p.m. breathing into the phone. Do you even know who Joe is?
Betty, that weird woman's calling again.
That old lady's on the phone again.
It's not just that, but whenever they would call to try and find Joe, everyone was like, I just get that weird voice on the phone, and it's Max, the butler.
Yeah, he's like, clearly has I'm going to say a German, you know, East European style accent, Austrian German. He's like, no Joe. You know,
he's
basically.
not here. But, you know, anytime they're trying to find him, they can't. They get Max. And then when Norma finds out that Joe is out there, she finds a script with Joe's name and Betty's name, and she's like, jealous woman. The entire movie, you get those eyes, those crazy eyes.
Oh, yeah. And she had the crazy eyes.
I really like that moment, the crazy eye moment when she's outside of Joe's room looking in the mirror, and she's just like, she has the pasties on her face.
I want to say too, like a concept of old, and this isn't in our notes. I'm going off the fly, people. In this movie, Norma, we find out, is 50 years old. She's portrayed to look 70 at minimum. Betty in this movie is supposed to be 22. Realistically, she's probably 30. You know, makeup wasn't then what it is today. The head actor is probably William Holden is Joe Gillis. I assume Joe is 35, 40. In real life, may have been 45. So he's really, he's not much older than what they're saying Norma is, you know, in the movie.
Also, you have to look at back then. They had those older men. Like Billy Wilder, I just know in Sabrina alone, that's a movie with Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn. And Audrey Hepburn looked like she was fresh out of high school in that movie. Yeah. Like, I remember when I first watched that movie, I was in high school, and I was like, she looks like she's probably my age. and you have Humphrey Bogart, who looks like he's in his 40s. So I think at the time,
yeah, it was. I guess it was just funny because Joe in this movie is calling other 50-year-olds in the screenplay. They called old people waxworks.
Yeah.
Waxworks.
Yeah, and there's a lot of. I mean, it's granted. I'm 36, so like a lot of these terms make sense to me because growing up, I'd watch movies and stuff like this at my grandma's house, and so it's just I heard these terms before. I mean, there are a lot of terms in films of this age that just sort of grew new definitions over the decades.
Yeah, like I kind of wrote here, like the classic dialogue in this film takes you back to, like, it feels like a time of eloquence, even though it was common speak. Like Norma Desmond goes through, she clearly has depression. She fell out of popularity when they started talking on film. She was a silent actress. They call it melancholy. No locks are allowed in the house, no door handles because she's attempted suicide. They call it melancholy. We all know that other words and terms are used in the movie that have changed over time, but it's interesting because when you hear terms like that, it makes you think, man, these people are really sophisticated when it was probably common talk.
Yeah.
In 1950.
And one thing that we both laughed at, and I pulled up because we couldn't find the scene and we didn't want to throw the DVD back in, but there was a line of dialogue at the beginning of the film when Joe is met by the repo men, and they're threatening him. Back in the 50s, I don't think they did so much, we're gonna break your kneecaps with a lead pipe, Tanya Harding,
or did they? Yeah.
But I think they had that like Screen Actors Guild where like bad people couldn't be bad people. Or something, like gangsters at the time were like, man, see, you'll eat crackers until you choke. I don't know. But like, there was a line in this.
You will eat croutons with no liquid for half an hour.
Try whistling with a cracker. But like, the in the screenplay here, the hand, they're called hands in this, I guess, hired
the
hand.
the repo man.
The repo man.
So the repo man, you want me to read the repo man?
Go ahead and read the
All
repo
right.
man.
So the repo man says, sure, we believe you. Only now we want to believe you. I'm sorry. That car better be back here by noon tomorrow, or there's going to be fireworks.
To which Joe responds with, "You say the cutest things." I thought, I like that. I want to be put into a situation where I'm being threatened by a gangster just so I can say, "Oh, you say the cutest things."
You say the most darling things.
But I have a feeling that I would get American History X'd, like mouth curb stomped.
Yeah, you
after
would
saying something like that
Yeah,
today.
you definitely would.
But in the 50s, I think you could get away with that for whatever.
Yeah, so this movie actually won an Oscar for Best Screenplay in 1951, and I think the story phrasing and speed is kind of lost in today's films. And we were kind of talking, I think it's literally because we have computers now that can fix anything. Like, if we screw up this thing, he can just, snip, cut, put it back together. You couldn't do it then, so I think they had to phrase stuff a little slower. Everything's kind of a slow burn because if you screw it up, you got to take the whole scene again.
That, I think they focused a lot on things like dialogue, so they really kind of worked that back and forth. It's kind of like a tennis match where films now, it seems like they have to go above and beyond a lot of what they're doing, and you're kept in a constant state of action.
Like, let's say we're watching an action movie or a murder mystery. Like this would be, well, I guess a mystery, but they could give you 10 minutes of terrible soundscapes and just the boogeyman looking through the window or King Kong smash. Like there's stuff they could just fill it.
Even with Death on the Nile, I watched that one a little while ago. That's a murder mystery, and that one you would have your scenes of dialogue and going off on a little adventure to see a tomb or something like that. And when you're in a moment, it just gets interrupted by a rock falling or something happening, like a big boulder falling. And so you're sort of taken out of it, where movies like Sunset Boulevard, you didn't have
the
that.
concept of a green screen was unheard of.
Not even a green screen. Like, you know, a lot of the practical effects. I think a lot of this is primarily with storytelling. I mean, other movies that came out around this time, let's say westerns, for instance, those, you know, they focused the action on like the close shot guns,
horseback,
the horseback. You had the cowboys and Indians, that whole deal. So you had something kind of going along with that.
I think too, like, this being in black and white really adds to the drama of the film. And I wrote here, I do not believe this movie would have been as good if it were in color. I truly think that the fact that they were limited by the colors they chose on set for the lighting absolutely added 100% to the quality of the movie.
Then I could be wrong speaking out of my butt here, but I don't know if they had Technicolor back then.
I don't either, but I just mean in general, like...
Well, they probably did because they had mentioned Technicolor in the film.
Oh, yeah, they did.
So, that, you know, they could have had color, but I think black and white was still, like... I mean, look at...
1950s prominent.
Like, look at Leave It to Beaver alone. That show, while TV shows were in full color, midway through the lifespan of Leave It to Beaver, they continued on in black and white to retain that aesthetic.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, all in all, a great film. We both first saw this film in...
I was hoping you'd get to that.
Yeah. We were in college, and we had a film class. It was the second time I had taken the film class. The first time, I don't even think we watched this movie. But the second time around, we watched this movie, and we both thoroughly enjoyed it. We watched it, you know, as part of our...
I think they split it in half, you know, hour and a half long class. So we watched 1 hour, then the second hour. But yeah, we were talking about it. Like, this movie must have been really good to us, even in our 20s, because we sat in uncomfortable desks for 2 nights in a row to watch this when we could have just not come to class because it's college.
Yeah.
You know, so I really enjoy the movie, and I was telling... old Macatthemovies here a few days ago. I was like, man, we need to watch Sunset Boulevard. Yeah. We need to visit it. We need to do a video on it because, man, it's great.
Yeah, because it's been a few years since I've seen it. Like, I told Chasers here that the last time I had seen this movie was, I don't know, like 5 years ago maybe. And I remembered I had like a day off of work, just a black and white day with 12 Angry Men, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and finished it off with Sunset Boulevard. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic film. All in all, what would you give that? 1 out of 5?
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah,
4 out of 5 for me.
I have to say the same thing. Definitely a strong 4 out of 5. It's a great film, and I feel like also movies of this time, like I was telling Chase earlier after we had just finished watching it, but you have movies that sort of, you know, they start out with this grand story about what you're going to see or what's going to happen, and then you sit 2 hours through to this final climax that just sort of happens.
Yeah.
Like, the final climax, like after... the person who gets shot, it like steps back for a minute.
If you have not seen this movie,
yeah,
and I know it's not widescreen, you're going to put it on your TV, you're going to have the black bars. It's in black and white. The sound is very mid-range. All the men talking sound like this, you know. Yeah. But like the final 3-4 minutes of this film is a fantastic psychotic break of reality. I mean, it really is. Just. Seriously, watch the movie.
So much about it's just that whole ending scene is just wonderful. It's just a side movie here, but I was telling Chase outside earlier that there's an Akira Kurosawa film called Akiru, where that sort of happens. Like you watch this whole movie, and at the very end, it's just this beautiful ending. It that feels like it's separate from the rest of the film. Like, it's very familiar yet separate.
Yeah, so, we didn't get into specifics on purpose of who Max is, the butler, but you really need to watch the film and man, he ties it together. I mean, it's great. It truly is. It's fantastic.
But yeah, all in all, great film. Both of us 4 out of 5 stars, and I say check it out. Chase says check it out.
Check it out.
So, as always, thank you for stopping by. Comment down below if you've seen this movie. And if you have, thumbs up the video and yourself for watching it.
Thumbs up yourself.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Boop.